Chini-charge niya ako. Bakit matagas ulo ka? Pero kagabi, kaibang dasal niya. Sometimes siya ang aking closest critic. Pero sa kabila, siya ang pinaka nagpapalakas sa akin. Nagpapasigla siya sa akin. It's the same woman. It's the same woman. Sometimes she is my encourager. Sometimes she's my discourager. Sometimes siya ang aking co-parent or co-grandparent. Pero sa kabila, pagdating ng mga apo, siya ang spoiler. Sabi ko, Faye, Mami, malikot siya. Papaluin natin siya. And she doesn't want to agree to that. See, or now, I've said all of that. I've said what I've said for the last 5 minutes to say it is at this point that if Faye were here, that we would approach one another. I would approach her to ask her, "Saan ka na? Where are you? Which place? Kumusta ka? Ano ang damdamin mo? What are you feeling?" Because you see, if I know how she's feeling, alam ko kung saan galing siya. Mas madaling mapapagbigay ako ng sagot sa kanya. O may bibigay ko ang tamang sagot. You see, I can give if I say to her, "Okay, are you coming from the left brain or the right brain?" Because you see, we may be predominantly in one side of the brain, but maybe for 1/4 of the time, I'm just pulling that number out of the air, but for a certain percentage of the time, we are changing from being mechanical and organized and direct, we are changing malambot, and where we are very touchy-feely. You know, and sometimes we cry so quickly. Biglaan ang luha. And so it is, this is so important. Have you heard what I said the last 5 minutes? That you say to your wife, you say to your husband, "How do you feel? What are you feeling, sweetheart? I know who she is. I know all about her. I've lived with her for 53 years. I don't need to just say that in a surface way, but I do need to know how you're feeling right now. So I know how to respond, and I don't just sige pa. You know, parang bulldog. Tulaka, you see. Because unless I accept how she's feeling, I'll just keep pushing my side. Yung bunga ng pagtutula, like, away. We're going to fight. And then it hits the fan. And everything breaks loose. But you see, before it gets to that, because when you've been married 53 years, you don't need to fight anymore. All the issues, the real issues of your life with one another have been resolved. Even the issue of dying and where you're going to be buried, we have already resolved that. And so we clarify. And then we clarify again because, about the moment we define ourselves, well, you know, I'm feeling tired. I just don't feel like talking. Well, okay, I adjust to that. She's tired. She doesn't feel like talking. But then So she changes over from being the initiator to the responder. Or she changes from being the initiator of the conversation to the completer. She's the one who's closing it down and saying, we're not talking about this anymore right now. See, the change from foundation layer to a fellow builder, where are we now? Or the change from the dream launcher. Yung mga pangarap namin, our dreams. Is she still the dream launcher, or is she waiting for me? Now that, what is the dream of a 75-year-old man for his sweetheart? I can tell you, it's not what it was when we were 21. Believe ka ba hindi? You see, but you see, we still have the role. Who's the dream launcher? Is today the day? You see, Mama Young Apple, I'm going to see her, and we're going to hug, and we're going to kiss, and we're going to smooch like crazy for a little while, you know. We both still have our teeth, so we don't even have to take out our teeth. And then we will discover, after being separated for so many days, who's the dream launcher now? You see, now, the foundation for this, please, I must say another word about where we were last night in 1 Peter. In 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. Husbands, in the same way, be considerate as you live with your wives, and treat them with respect as the weaker partner, and as heirs with you of the gracious gift of life. Gracious, that's a sweet, I could preach a sermon on the gracious gift of life. That's such a sweet phrase. So that nothing will hinder your praying. You see, I must understand how in the world, how can I possibly pray for her if I don't know where she is? If you understood that, you do this. I better say it again. Nothing. Because, you see, we are living in AD, and we are living with prayer, and so we must be praying for one another and praying with one another. And so if something is going to interrupt the prayer life, if something is going to keep us from praying together, then we're in trouble. This is the most sensitive spot of all. Because if I can't be honest when I'm praying with her, if she can't be honest, if she can't confess her sin with me, and if I can't confess my sin with her, we're both in trouble. We need to be honest with God and honest with one another. We have lived in this triangle. We have lived in this triangle, and I know I've talked to you about the triangle before. We have lived in this triangle for so long. The only time I listen to the radio is when I'm in the car. And have you noticed that on the radio station they always pause for station identification? Di ba? Nagbibigay sila ng ID nila. If you can't remember this, you ought to write this down. I'm telling you that several times a day with your family, not just your wife or your husband, with your children as well, you need to pause for station identification. Kids, your parents need to know who you are and where you are all the time. And I'm not talking about geographically. Well, see, in pausing for station identification, I recognize again